y'all, Mama Cheryl here. Hoping everybody's having a great day, afternoon, or evening. Today we're going to come with our second part to our The Older Women Shall Teach the Younger Women series that I've started. Okay, yesterday we started with modesty. Today we're going to go into with canning. Okay, because the reason why I chose to do canning today, because canning is a very, very needed subject to be talked about in our community. I know there are some women who can, but there's a lot of women who still do not know how. So we're going to go through canning. But before I go into a lot about what canning is, I just wanted to go back and look at some of the methods that our foremothers used in ancient times, because canning is an ancient form of preserving food. Okay, and basically this is a food preservation, and there are many ways to preserve food. Okay, and like I said, but our topic mainly is going to be about canning, and we will cover other areas. But now I want to start with some of the ways that our foremothers preserved food in ancient times. Okay, now drying was a main method of food back in the day. Because I'm going to read some of these in notes, so I'm just going to be reading from notes just so you know. It says, thousands of years ago, people learned to preserve food to keep it from spoiling. Even back then, they had many ways to preserve food. So, like I said, our foremothers used methods. Okay, now we're going to talk about the drying method. Okay, the drying method is what they use when they use the sun and the wind to naturally preserve food. Okay, they had methods and materials that reflect the knowledge that they had when it came to drying foods like fruits, vegetables, fish, wild game, domestic animals, you know. And even if there wasn't enough sunlight back in the day to dry, they would use fire in what was called a still house. Okay, and a still house was basically for fruits and vegetables, like smoke houses were used for meat. All right, so that was one method. Drying was one method. Then they had what they called the freezing method. Okay, of course, certain parts of the world, it gets extremely cold, so you can put things outside and let them freeze. Or not freeze, yeah, freeze, and to keep cold. Okay, then you had fermenting, where people ferment vegetables today, but you know, even back then, they knew how to ferment. And the best thing about fermenting was, though, the microorganisms that fermenting causes. And they're responsible for the food producing vitamins and that we need. I mean, a fermented vegetable is one of the most healthiest things that you can eat. You know, we know that wine is fermented. Okay, so it has great properties as long as it's not abused. Okay, and we know fruits were fermented. We know. I said fruits, but that's in another one. If fruit was fermented to make wine, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, cabbage into sauerkraut and so on. There were dozens of vegetables and things that were fermented that was a way to preserve food through the winters too, because a lot of places had harsh winters, and this is the way they put up food. You know, they would start in the fall, or some would start in late summer and start putting away food, whether they ferment them, dry them. They would dry all through summer when it was hot. Okay, and then they would freeze in the winter, but you know, before they got to that point, they would ferment. Then we have pickling. Okay, we know we still pickle today. You know, that's when you use like vinegar in your foods. You know, the vinegar is produced from starches or sugars, is fermented first to alcohol, and then it changes and it does its things. Excuse me. We know wines, beers, and ciders are routinely transferred. Okay, excuse me, y'all. Oh, I just went on a coughing fit. Had to get that fixed. Okay, now I was talking about the pickling process. Okay, where it says that the alcohol is oxidized by certain bacteria to acetic acid. Wines, beers, ciders, and all routinely transferred to vinegars. I think that's where I was. Okay, yeah. And with vinegars, you can can with vinegars. Okay, now and then we were talking about another form of preserving was curing. And curing was actually the first form of dehydration. Curing was done by using salt, which was common to help desiccate foods. Types of salts used was raw salts from different sources such as rock salt, sea salt, and spice salt. Okay, now the one we all know to when you can or preserve is jam and jelly. Okay, jams and jelly came about when preserving fruits with the use of honey or sugar. This method was well known to most ancient cultures. Fruits that were kept in honey was a common thing. How about that? Okay. Now we come to canning, our subject, okay? Canning is the newest of the food preservation methods. It is the process in which foods are placed in jars and cans and heated to a temperature that destroys microorganisms and inactivates the enzymes. Okay, the heating and later cooling forms a vacuum seal. Okay, that's, you know, on our seals that happens. All right, the vacuum seals prevents other microorganisms from recontaminating the food within the jar or can. Now, a little history on the canning method. Pardon me, you guys, I got a cold, so just bear with me. All right, canning was pioneered in the 1790s when a French confectioner, Nicolas Appert, discovered that the application of heat to food, sealed glass bottles, preserved the food from deterioration. Okay, he theorized if it works for wine, why not foods? In about 1806, Appert's, principles were successfully tried by French Navy on a wide range of foods, including meat, vegetables, fruit, and even milk. Based on Appert's methods, Englishman Peter Durand used tin cans in 1810. Appert had found a new and successful method to preserve foods, but he did not fully understand it. It was though through that the exclusion of air was responsible for the preservation. Okay, it was not until 1864 when Louis Pasteur discovered the relationship between microorganism and food spoilage or illness. Okay, when he did that, when he discovered that, it became clearer. All right. Just prior to Pasteur's discovery, Raymond Chevalier Appert patented the pressure retort canner in 1851 to can at temperatures higher than 212 Fahrenheit. However, not until the 1920s was the significance of this method known in relation to Clostridium botulinum. In other words, they're talking about botulism. Anyway, I just wanted to go over some history, and I don't know if I was pronouncing that man's name right. It's a French name. It looked like Appert or it's Appert, whatever. Anyway, you guys get the message. So now we're going to go in and look at some of the items and the tools that we need for canning. Okay, you guys. Before you even start canning, you need to get you a canning book, okay? This is the Blue Book, Guide to Preserving. And this is a wonderful book to can with, okay? Ball makes some excellent things to help you along your canning journey. They also have a book called Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving, and that's an excellent one too. And I think that's the one I would recommend to most people because it has a whole lot of stuff. This is just the one that I have. Okay, but this is also a good one. Okay, this is also a good one to have. I think both of them would be good to have in your library, your kitchen library. Okay, now I wanted to stress that this is needed first before you could do anything, because you want to get this book and read through it, learn step by step, and learn about all there is to know about canning, what you can, how you can it, how you do it, what you do it for, and all of that good stuff. But anyway, get you a good canning book. And like I said, I would recommend this one and the other one that I mentioned, the Ball Complete Book of Home Preserving. So yeah, before you start anything, get your books and read them. Okay, these are good things to have in your library. Because if you don't learn from somebody, from somebody who's teaching you, these books can take you step by step and get you on your way. Okay, I'll be back with our next item. Okay, the next item we're going to discuss on our canning journey are jars. Okay, when you can, you need jars. As a home canner, you need jars, okay? Because this is just standard. All right, and there are two jars or two manufacturers that I recommend that I use, and that is Ball and Kerr. Yeah, there are other jars out there, but these are your old standbys. These people have been around for over 100 years. So, yeah, this is what I recommend. I know there are, Walmart has a brand and there are other brands, but this is my recommendation because like I said, my grandmother canned in these, her mother canned in these, and her mother canned in these. So everybody I knew that canned in either Ball or Kerr, okay? Because these are your standards, regular standards. Okay, now this jar is a half-gallon jar. Okay, it's a wide mouth half-gallon jar because all your jars, the big jars anyway, except for your little half pint, come with two mouth sides. They come in your regular mouth and your wide mouth. This is a wide mouth jar. And what's so awesome about the regular mouth jar, I'll show you in a minute, is that they can connect, you can twist these into a standard blender and you can actually blend things in them, okay? Which is outstanding. And there's so much more you can do with these jars besides can, but our number one thing that I'm talking about is canning. So yes, this is a half-gallon, and what can you can in here? You can can anything you want, if you have a big enough canner to process it in. All right. Now, then you have what's called quart jars. Okay, what can you can in a quart jar? You can can anything you want. Okay, just like the half-gallon jar. And also, they have a regular mouth and a wide mouth. Okay, depends on what you're canning. Depends on your preference, which one you want to use. Okay, so yeah, this is your quart jar. All right, this is a standard. A lot of people use this, and even though we talk about canning, I drink juice out of these jars too. When I fix juice and smoothies, I drink it out of these jars. So this is your quart jars. Okay. Next, you have what's called a pint jar. Okay, you have a regular mouth on this jar, and you have a wide mouth on this jar as well. And this is a standard jar because more people use this size, especially if they have a canner where well, I won't say the water bath canner, but what's called a pressure canner. Some of them are not deep enough to fit this jar. This is a standard jar, but some of them won't fit this jar. So A lot of people use this size. This basically, in my pressure canner, this is all I can use because it's not deep enough to put a quart in it. You know, I'm working on getting the big girl canner. I call it a big girl because it's a bad mother. It's a all-American, and I'll probably post a picture somewhere in between here. Okay, this is your pint jars. And this is your jelly jar. This is a half pint jar, okay? Wait a minute, let me get something. This is a jelly jar. See, I made jelly just the other day in this jar. But you could do more than put jellies in this jar. They also have one that's a little bit smaller. It's, you know, half this size. But yeah, this is what they call a jelly jar. This also comes decorative. You can buy it. They have like diamond cuts in them, but you know, it works the same way. Why spend more when you don't have to? Not unless you just want to. Okay, these are your jars. Okay, this is how it looks when you have your jelly in it. This is, I made red grape jelly. Okay, so yeah. All right, we're gonna move on to the next item we will be using with our canning. Okay, and that step is important, and well, I won't say the step, but the items are important. Okay. Okay, next we have what's called a canning kit. A canning kit is very important to have because you're going to need this along your canning journey, because you especially, well, all of it is important as far as I'm concerned, but before you even put anything in your jars, you're going to need this, because this right here is called a jar lifter. Okay, I was going to pick up a jar and show you guys. Okay, let me pick up a jar. This is a jar lifter. What this does is you put, after you sterilize your jars, because what you're going to do before you do anything, you're going to fill up your canner, your water canner, or whatever water bath canner, or if you're using your pressure canner, which I'll show in a few minutes, you're going to fill that up with water. You're going to let it get hot and boil. And what you're going to do with your jars and your lid, you're going to wash your jars in hot soapy water, or you're going to put them in the dishwasher if you have one, and you're going to clean them. And then what you do, and some people even sterilize their jars in the dishwasher. Okay, but I don't have a dishwasher, so I have to do it the old-fashioned way. And I'd rather do it the old-fashioned way because one day it might not be no electricity to run the dishwasher. So it's better to learn it the old-fashioned way. So what you would do, you would take this jar, wait, let me take the lid off, and the top, the ring and the lid, that's what these are called on the jar. This is the lid, this is the ring, okay? And let me sit this over here, because what you're going to do, you're going to take this jar after it's been washed, and you're going to put it inside the canner, okay? Well, I'll reach over and pretend like I'm putting it in the canner. All right, you're going to let that jar process for like 10 minutes. Not process, but sterilize for 10 minutes. All right, after 10 minutes, you should have all your other stuff prepared to put in your jars. Like, let's just say we're making jelly, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna reach over here. No, wait, stop. Let me stop. Let me back up. Let me roll it on back. You're gonna prepare an area to set these jars, okay? Because you cannot sit a hot jar on the counter, especially if you got marble and all that, because if you set that hot jar on the counter, it's gonna break, it's gonna crack. So what you're gonna do is, if you have a wooden cutting board, you can use that, but you can use a towel, which is, you know, just as easy. So you take a towel, a tea towel, kitchen towel, sit it on your counter, okay? Then when your jars finish processing, sterilizing, you take it out, you sit it on the area, your prepared area, okay? You set this to the side. Now, you're going to take what's called your funnel, and you're going to sterilize this too. Everything you use, you're going to sterilize, okay? You put that funnel in the jar, and you're going to get you one of these. It doesn't have to be one of these like this. It could be a regular ladle, but this is a canning ladle, and this, see the inside of this little scoop is will fill 1 pint of for jelly. Okay, it'll fill this jar right here. This little right here. Okay, now you're gonna scoop your jelly out, and you're gonna put it in your jar. Okay, and when your jar gets finished, you're gonna have an area where you can sit all this stuff. Or this is why I like this one, because you can hang it, whatever pot you got your jelly in, you know, you can hang it on the side of that pot so it will drip back in the pot. Okay, then you're going to take this off. You're going to take a wet paper towel, and you're going to run around that ring. You're going to clean that off to make sure there's nothing sticking on there, because you want your jars to be able to seal to the lid. Okay, then you have your lids and your rings basically in another pot where you done boil some water and just pour the hot boiling water on it. That's what they say, but basically I throw them in a pot of water, bring it up to the boil, and turn it down. And then you're going to reach in there with this. This is called a lid magnet. See, it has a lid magnet at the end. You use this, and you reach in your pot. This is the pot over here, and you're going to get that lid, and you're going to put it on there. Then now we're doing jelly, so we don't have to worry too much about bubbles. But say for instance, if this was a hot soup, or say tomato sauce or something like that, or anything liquid, before you do that, you're going to measure to make sure that it's at the correct level that the recipe calls for, because jellies and jams are usually called for 1/4, and that's right here. Okay, then there's some that goes to the 2nd level, then the 3rd level, and then the 1-inch level, where most like soups and beans and all that kind of stuff are at this level, this 1-inch level. So you're going to do that. Then you're going to wipe off the top. Then you're going to take this. If it's soup, you're going to get the bubbles out. Okay, it's sauce, you're going to get the bubbles out. All right, and then you put the lid on, and you put the ring on. Make sure you have something, an oven mitt or something, because this jar is going to be hot and you don't want to be touching that. Okay, now pretend I got an oven mitt on. I'm holding the jar just so I can put the thing, and you're just going to tighten this finger, what's called finger tight. You're going to take your jar lifter, and you're going to put this inside your canner. And now we're going to talk about something called processing. All right, now processing just means how long you let your jars boil for after you put your whatever you're fixing, like my jelly in. Okay, where I am, that you only have to process for like 5 minutes, because I'm at a very low altitude. The higher up you go, the longer you have to process. Some people have, like I said, I process at 5 minutes. Some people have to process at 10 minutes, and other people process at 15, and that would be in a water bath canner. And I'm getting ready to set up so you can see the water bath canner. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, we're back with our water bath canner. Okay, this canner right here, like I said, is a water bath canner. And there are only certain things that you can can in this particular canner. You can can jellies, you can can tomatoes, you can can pickles, relishes, anything that's high in acids. You know, like if you're canning, you're using lemon juice or vinegar or something like that, you can can with this canner. Okay, now, you cannot can vegetables in this canner because they do not have a high enough acid in them. Like string beans and greens, potatoes, corn, all vegetables you cannot can in this canner. You cannot can meat in this canner. You know, no kind of fleshy products you cannot can in this canner. Okay, this water bath, it only gets so hot, and you need a pressure canner to get to can the other foods that I was mentioning. Okay, now how this canner works is this one right here has a basket. Okay, so I'm gonna lift it up, hope it stays and doesn't fall, and then you just take your jars, you know, and you set them in the canner like so. And like I said, after you get your can in the canner, because once you put these jars in, even if it's boiling, it's gonna stop boiling because it has to, you know, get hot again, get back to temperature. And so what you do is you let that get back to temperature before you even start counting as being processed. Okay, you lower that down in there. That's a safety, good safety. And like I said, you bring it back to boil, and once it starts boiling again, that's when you start counting your processing time. Okay, whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes. All right, and after that, what you do is you turn the fire off and you let it stop boiling. Okay, now once it stops boiling, take the top off, away from yourself, because the steam is going to come up out of there. It's going to be hot. Take the top off away from yourself. You're going to sit it aside. You're going to have something on your hands and make sure you lift it up. You're going to lift this out, and you're going to put your jars on your prepared area where your towel and everything is. So that's how you do your water bath canner. And oh, with this, you fill this all the way up because you have to have at least 1 inch of water up over your jars. Okay, so now we're going to prepare for our pressure canner. So we'll be right back. Okay, now we're back with the pressure canner. All right, mine is a Presto. This right here is your magnet. This is your gauge for your pressure. When you have to, if you know how to cook in a pressure cooker, then you know how to use a pressure canner. Same thing, works the same way. Okay, now the difference with the pressure canner though is, I'll bring this back in a minute. And with all canners, okay, you have to have a rack. You cannot put jars on the bottom of these pots or you'll break your jars. It'll get too hot. Okay, always have a rack, some kind of rack. Okay, now, and I don't know if you can, if this is close enough, let me let you see, bring it up so you can see the gauge. Okay, can you see the gauge? All right, now, how this gauge works is, when you start boiling here, you see this little needle, and this locks. It's not locked now, but it locks, okay? Because you have to lock it if you're going to pressure can, okay? Now, when you lock it, you bring it up to pressure, and you let it boil and let it steam for like 5 minutes, or whatever the recipe calls for. Then once it starts steaming, you put this on, and this will rock, okay, as it's processing. And you have to make sure you keep this pot at the pressure that is called for. Now, with me, where I am, I can add anywhere from 5 pounds to 7 pounds per pressure. Okay, some people can, or sometimes it could be 10 or 11 pounds per pressure. And then other people can at 15 to 20 pounds per pressure. But basically it's 15. So, and with this canner, you don't fill it all the way up. You put like maybe 2 inches of water in here. Okay, and you let it boil and you put your jars and things in here. But yeah, so this is your pressure canner, and this is the one, a lot of people would be afraid of this, but there's no reason to be afraid of this. Because this is what's going to process most of your food, especially your vegetables, your meat, and all that. So learn how to use one of these. Like I said, I want to invest in another one because this one I can't process a quart jar. Okay, but I want to be able to process a quart jar, so I'm going to move up a level or two. I'll probably sell this one and to invest in a new one. So yeah, so I hope some of this information on the canning process is helpful to you guys. I know it's not in-depth, in-length teaching or anything, but it's just to go over some basics. It's just as basics, because there's a lot more that I could have said that I just forgot about to say. But like I said, before you start doing anything, invest in a good canning book. You know, start now to stocking your kitchen library with books like that. That would be helpful for you, because there are so many rules, you know, rules that you can follow for safety, you know, for to keep from getting bacteria in your foods even before you can. And so invest in those books, and then I'll say happy canning. And so I'll see you on the next video. Shalom. Oh, one more thing that I wanted to share with you, I almost forgot, is when you're canning jellies and jams and, you know, other stuff, there's this thing called pectin. Okay, pectin is what helps your jellies gel, your jams gel. Like when you go to the store and buy a jar of jelly and you open it and it's all gel, this is what causes it. Okay, when you can jelly, when you make jelly, you use a lot of sugar and pectin. Now, some recipes you might not need pectin, like some jam recipes you might not need pectin, but some of your jellies you will. I prefer to use it now, even though I can learn to, I can without it. I've made jelly without it, but I just didn't like the consistency of it. This gives it a more smoother look and feel. So yeah, now this pectin, these are my sugar gel. This is by ball. This is a pectin by ball. This one is a low no sugar needed pectin, but they make a regular one too. I particularly didn't care for this one as much. I know some people might like this one, but I particularly didn't care for it. But then you have Sure Gel. Now this Sure Gel right here is the same as this one. It's a no sugar, low sugar. Okay, now I don't like it either, because it gives to me a softer set of your jelly. But it's great for, say, instance, you use regular Sure Gel. You use this Sure Gel. It's just, you're making jelly, and your jelly still come out and didn't set quite right. What you can do is you can go get some of this. So always keep this one on hand when you get your regular. If you get regular Sure Gel, keep this on hand, because this is what you're going to use to fix your jellies that don't set right. Anything that you make that didn't set right, you're going to use this right here. Okay? So I just wanted to come back and say that, because I forgot to show it to you. You know, pectin, fruit pectin. It's made out of fruit, people, so don't freak. You know, it is. Most pectin is made from jelly. I mean, not jelly, but from apples. So yeah. So now I can say shalom.